This episode of the Prestige TV podcast is brought to you by Coffee Mate.
Coffee Mate has been searching the globe for flavors that pair perfectly with coffee.
So when they heard that the new season of HBO's The White Lotus was set in Thailand, they were inspired to brew up 2 new flavors, Thai iced coffee and pina colada flavored creamers.
They're available for a short time only. So for the love of coffee, go try them now.
What's happening? It's Todd McShay, host of The McShay Show at The Ringer and Spotify. Listen, I love all aspects of football, from the college to the professional game, but the draft is my grind. Listen and watch The McShay Show for all of my draft analysis. And if you want more, subscribe to my newsletter, The McShay Report, where you can find my mock drafts and big boards and all of the buzz and intel I'm hearing from NFL decision makers. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe to The McShay Show on The Ringer, Spotify, and wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. And subscribe to The McShay Report today for a special introductory offer. Google The McShay Report or find it on theringer.com.
The Prestige TV podcast, presented by the Ringer Podcast Network. You can watch us as a video on Spotify. You can watch us on the Ringer-TV YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We have been here. That's Joanna Robinson, Mallory Rubin.
Hello.
We've been here every episode. This will be the last time we actually had a chance to prepare
Correct.
for an episode recap. Spoiler, I know we put these up right after the show, but we actually taped them a few days before. The season finale, we're just going to be right after live. Maybe we go live on YouTube. Who knows?
Ooh.
That would be interesting.
I mean, if we're going to do it right away, might as well.
Might as well go live. But yeah,
Otherwise, we should watch the episode 3 times.
I know. I'm going to miss it because I feel like
I'm sad.
I watched this one 3 times because I really
Yeah.
felt like I was missing stuff. Anyway, this is the each episode's had a theme
Yeah.
that we've talked about top. This was the alcohol and violence episode,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
We just start out with like little flashes of Muay Thai fighters beating the
Yeah.
shit out of each
Yeah.
other,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
just
Stitched together
kind
throughout.
of goes sideways. There's booze and there's violence, or the hint of violence, and I know what my favorite part of the show was. But what was your big takeaway, Joanna?
Was your favorite part Alexi's girlfriend slapping him in the dick, or was that your favorite part, Mallory?
I enjoyed the dick slap followed by the kind of just like batting Laurie's head as she fell out of the window, the way a cat bats around a toy mouse.
Right.
That was really remarkable stuff.
That was, I think, a real dick slap.
yeah.
I was going to do this later, but I don't think that. I think they went method acting on that one.
Sensational stuff.
To answer your question in seriousness, do you want to know what's wild? What's true about me coming out of this episode?
Yeah.
I'm most deeply invested in Saxon Ratliff.
It happened.
I knew it.
We got her.
I knew it.
I was so
You did it.
I knew it.
prepared
You did
today
it.
to come in and beg you to join us.
I knew it.
I'm on
And I
the
wasn't
team.
even going to say join us on the dark side because I don't think it is the dark
No.
side anymore.
I never gave up. I always believed.
We got a really compelling email about how the Buddha, before he
Wow,
became
I'm thrilled right now.
No, like listen to this. The Buddha, before he became the Buddha, was like a pampered prince who like goes through this sort of debaucherous night and comes out the other side and dedicates his life to spiritualism. Is Saxon Ratliff
It's great.
the Buddha of White Lotus season 3?
All he needed was mind-altering drugs and to get jerked off by his
Well,
brother.
yeah,
and now
well.
he's come out the other side.
What a family wank.
What a great prescription for everyone else.
What won't it
Yeah.
solve?
Yeah, I felt like maybe we were heading this way in episode 7 because I was like, wow, Saxon's a little more sympathetic than I was expecting. And then
They got me.
they really brought it back.
Also,
and
just another incredible performance from Patrick
he's great.
Schwarzenegger.
I mean,
Really
he's
good.
been great
soulful
through the whole time.
despite what Chelsea would say.
Well, now he's growing a baby soul, is what I would say.
Yeah, you can't do it in 10 minutes.
No.
We learned that from Chelsea, but you could start to do it in 10
nurture it.
minutes. Yeah.
well, it's funny that the couple of Saxon
Mm-hmm.
and Chelsea are the most interesting combo on the show now.
Correct.
I could spend every
moment
single
with
day
them,
with
I'm like, more. Where's this going?
Correct.
And the way I think the acting is so good on her side.
the
I
meditation
just like her
scene.
so much. What happened? When do we get her next?
Amy Lou?
Yeah, I don't want to give up on Amy Lou. I need her in my TV life. I need
Okay.
her on another show.
My assumption is that Saxon and Chelsea. Oh, interesting. I still haven't watched The Pit. My assumption is that Saxon and Chelsea will start a vlog after their journey in Thailand, and we will be able to watch every day. They're wonderful. The meditation scene between the two of them, while like probably a total of 75 seconds, was some of the most riveting TV I've ever seen in my life. Well,
there's also the tension because like as much as I am rooting for Saxon and his baby soul, I still am a Chelsea Rick truther personally. And so
I've got some challenges.
Okay, but
to work through on that front. I'm struggling.
Absolutely. But I did not want them to hook up, but I did enjoy the tension of the will they, won't they?
Yes,
you know?
Agreed. I need Chelsea to want more than Rick. I also have been deeply invested in Rick and Chelsea.
More than like fixing him and saving him?
Yeah, and more than somebody who never answers her phone calls and always tells her she's fucking annoying. Like, she deserves better than that.
You're deeply invested in a younger man settling for an older husband?
Younger woman.
That's it? That was where you landed?
You know, I believe that among consenting adults, age is but a number. That's how I've long felt about it. You mentioned the little glimpses of the Muay Thai fights. The way that was like stitched throughout the episode, these like really charged interstitials, and the number of pairs or groups, trios throughout this episode who were facing off. That theme we have we'll talk about obviously the Piper Lockie scene, but the way that we went into that speech, how everybody has the capacity to kill, the nature of violence. Obviously, our guy Talk has some stuff to say about this, but like we're first hearing that, even though it's a Piper Lockie scene, while we're looking at Rick's face. I thought this was a great episode for taking these disparate plots and stitching them together thematically, to your point. And this, like, the prevalence of the con man, the prevalence of desire, the questions of identity, the question of whether you give into that instinct for violence or are afraid of it. Fascinating thematic episode. And I liked the kind of like hallucinatory, dreamlike quality too of the slow-mo and the zooms, the close looks at faces as people were reflecting on the choices they were going to make. It was like a very moody penultimate episode.
Can I hit you with one more hot take? One more hot take before I want to hear what your favorite part of the episode was. The Rick storyline?
Yeah.
It's not satisfying me.
Yeah.
What happens here, if this is like the crescendo of Rick's storyline, this is not what I would use Walton Goggins for personally. I've been waiting and sort of reserving hope that we were going to get something sort of big. And that's not what I felt like we got in the Scott Glenn confrontation, you know?
Yeah.
Bill, let's hear.
Okay.
Counter.
Okay.
Yeah.
As soon as they're in Bangkok, and Frank is like, "Fuck this, I'll be sober again tomorrow."
Yeah.
Let's go party. I was the most excited I've been for TV in like 3 years.
No, the Let's Go Party sequence was great.
I'll tell you this. That could have just been its own episode. We could have dumped everyone else on the show and done an episode 9 bonus episode of them in Bangkok.
Like I said last week.
Signed up.
Is that ready for a 20-episode season?
Make me mad? Have we gotten to the part where you're
we haven't nearly gotten to the part yet.
I agree.
I was so pumped. When they did the low going down shot of the strip joint with the cage and them in the room, and I'm like, let's go. I don't care about any characters anymore. Let's see where this goes.
We're snorting lines.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
And Rockwell,
he's been unbelievable every second.
I can't say
Sam was
enough.
Great in this episode.
I can't say enough.
Though I still have notes about them as con artists.
Wow.
I hope more notes than ever, because this was frankly an appalling performance from both
shoddy.
One other aspect of the violence part.
Yeah.
Because it's all kinds of violence, right? There's actual violence. There's impending violence. There's
verbal
dick slaps. There's verbal violence.
Yeah.
But then we
implied
also have
violence. Take my blood money or else, right?
And kind of whatever Piper was doing to Lockie in that scene. That's like almost like emotional violence. But my favorite kind of violence is 3 female friends who secretly hate each other.
Shit. Oh my God.
What is it?
That was the
friendship violence.
Thrilla and vanilla of this episode.
Oh my Lord. We were waiting. We've been waiting since episode 1. When are they going to do it? Carrie Coon, who's just been unleashed. Lord. She's been absolutely unleashed, like Jameer Gibbs in, getting 30 carries in a game.
Dude.
They're just, and then
Laurie.
I don't even know what Jacqueline's doing anymore. She just seems so over it and so angry and
oh my God.
I wrote "Oh brother" in caps marks when she said, "I'll be the bad guy. I'm used to it." I was just like, "Oh, brother."
She's all like little words as possible and like really shitty faces.
Yeah.
And then you have Kate who's like, I'm just not emotionally equipped to do any of this.
Great Kate episode.
Yeah.
And then Carrie Coon's like just riveting.
Incredible.
And yet I still wanted to be in Bangkok the entire time with those two guys. It's
Interesting.
like, where are we going next,
Yeah,
guys?
send Lori to Bangkok.
How many are we bringing back to the hotel room? Oh, 4. Great.
So you would have spent the entire episode in Bangkok at the, okay, I'm supposed to be your lifelong friend, but you've ruined your sobriety for me. I've led you down this path and I'm just going to sit on a couch and smile. That's where you want the whole episode. I wanted the whole episode to be Chelsea and Saxon.
Same.
Knee to knee. Before she throws all of
the books
in his
in.
lap.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say in that moment forever. That's where you would have spent the whole episode too. Yeah. Okay.
Or the 3 ladies just drinking rosé. Where is this rosé?
Where is this rosé? Killed me. It had been maybe 20 seconds. It's great
Just ordered
stuff.
it for 10 seconds.
Great stuff.
I also thought Lori looked amazing in this episode. Like all season, they've been trying to sort of sell us on Carrie Coon, slightly rumpled mess, but she comes in there and that like
you can only fight that angle for so long.
What a farce!
Carrie Coon's winning out eventually.
We are all Alexi, just waiting to compliment Laurie's incredible hair and then saying PayPal, Zelle.
Well, his mother is relying on him.
Cash App.
I also,
guys,
I was actually quite nervous because, like, when he started that Nigerian prince move on her, he had his hand on the top of her head, and I was like, "Is this going to go somewhere terrifying?" But it just went Lori sort of bare ass running her way out the window.
The bare ass exit was great.
Out the window.
I liked when she joined them at the fight, and the Russians showed up, and she just took the guy's beer.
Yeah.
And just started swinging
Lori
it.
just feeling herself.
Yeah. Lori, easily best hang on the show.
Yeah.
No question.
Who
are you hanging out with?
Chelsea.
Who's a safer bet?
Chelsea's a good hang, except every 3 minutes, she's like, I need you to leave so I can call Rick, who won't answer my call, which I think gets a little old, honestly. I do love Chelsea, but that's a little tough.
If that's it just really feels to me, and I know
Chloe, great hang.
I know that this is like a
mansion,
a soft romantic whatever, but like I really feel like Rick is just going through something specific. If it's always like this, that's terrible. If Rick is like having a crisis of his soul and he can go one way or another, and Chelsea's like, I need to keep this tether or else I'm gonna lose him, then I understand. But if it's always like that, then it's not great.
This is a good game. Good hang, bad hang.
Yeah.
I mean,
worst hang, Tim.
Yeah.
Tim is a nightmare.
Tim has like moved past fun.
Tim, what's wrong? No, nothing. No, I'm fine.
The like lolling head as he was sitting next to Gary.
What
was just like
swaying. He's like fucking looking at the Blair Witch wall.
All season you've been like, I need someone in the family to really sit him down and be like, what the fuck is going on with you once again?
Saxon.
The
hero we needed.
A man of character and quality.
I will say we got
now he was entirely motivated by self-interest, but still he asked if his dad was okay.
We got a great email from listener David, who was pointing out the fact that like Tim has just been swaying around, stumbling around with a full bottle or a half bottle of lorazepam in his pocket. It would just be
like
rattling.
Rattling
Tim is like what he would
really
be. That
Rattling Tim is a great.
Also, you only brought
Rattling Tim Ratliff. I love it.
You only brought one sleeping T-shirt on the trip. You're just going to wear that Duke shirt every night for 10 hours
or
a day?
Or he brought 5 Duke T-shirts.
Oh, that's possible.
That is possible.
Yeah.
He does love Duke.
That seems right. Yeah. That seems right. But we would have the Duke blue in the mix. We wouldn't just have the all gray T-shirts. So maybe we would, honestly, with Tim Ratliff. Though I don't know. He has a lot of like pastels in his wardrobe.
He does.
Typically.
I'm surprised Mike White didn't throw in the Duke lacrosse T-shirt at some point and just keep bent up.
You're right. That would have been just
the knife.
Or the Leitner T-shirt.
Lotus.
Yeah, like just a lot of Duke sense.
When will we be talking about Saxon's wardrobe in this episode, which to me was just totally like Mad Men by way of Todd Snyder. I loved it. I thought it was wonderful.
Have you been served any Saxon shirts on Instagram ads? Or just
I have to be
Laughlin's
honest,
shirts?
I shop at Todd Snyder pretty regularly. I don't actually know that shirt is from there, but it would be. I wouldn't know if I had been served a new ad, unlike Furlocky's wardrobe, which I'm still disturbed by.
All right, here we go. I'm going to make Joanna mad with at least one of these.
Okay.
Special thing. You guys didn't know I was doing this.
It's great. We love that so much.
7 episodes. We've watched these episodes a bunch of times each. I have some nitpicks after 7 episodes.
Okay.
I'm going to start coming strong with the nitpicks.
Great.
Number 1, no particular order.
Okay.
You won't get mad at this one. The movie tie footage, just not that good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I didn't like how it was shot. I think he should have hired like somebody who films sports for a living.
Yeah, sports czar.
If they had come to the sports helper, I would have said, Go find like the guys who do 24/7 for HBO or something.
I didn't mind the sort of like leading up to the fight, the sort of like balletic interlude with the like warming up orchestra and stuff like that. But once you're at the fight.
Yeah. You were so excited for sports.
I wanted some wide shots. I wanted to see the guys circle each other. I thought they left too much on the table. All right, there's one.
Okay.
Number 2. Now, this one might make Joanna mad.
Okay.
I've felt this way deep down for a couple episodes. And now I'm just going to come out and say it.
Do you want to guess before he says it?
I don't think Jason Isaacs, I don't think it's that hard of a part.
Yeah.
And I think he's fucking boring.
You know what?
Yeah.
This is the episode where I agree with you.
Yeah, same.
Oh, great.
This is the episode where we're just like one more.
I think it's an autopilot.
We did not modulate anything inside of this episode. It's not like I think he's doing a bad job. I'm just sort of like, you need to give me something more of I'm having a dream sequence where I'm going to kill myself and my family.
I just think
I agree.
if you're going to, not that I'm going to give the great Mike White any notes, but I just think he'd be more manic, and the part's more fun if he's like all of a sudden super hyper. What are we doing today? And like trying to overcompensate, and then he goes back to being.
Can I say here's my bigger nit to pick?
Yeah.
Do you think we have a 6-episode story and an 8-episode bag?
I think it's a great point.
I think
it could be a 7-episode.
Right, because season 1 was 6, season 2 was 7. This is 8, and now we have 4. The last 4 episodes have been 2 days. Right, we did the day and the night twice in a row.
We've solved Tim Ratliff 2 episodes ago. His career fell apart, and his family's going to be disappointed, and he might kill himself. Like that's like 2 scenes.
Or if something else happens, if again like he doesn't wind up being in trouble or whatever, it's just been too long in this sort of Yeah, I agree. I loved the monastery scene last week. I thought that was really, really good.
Yeah.
I really loved that. But this week, I'm just like, you're giving me nothing else. When Saxon confronts him, and he just once again gives him the like, "We're fine, kid" response. I'm like, you're not going to give me any movement on this guy.
It's interesting. I mean, I wonder if there's like the tracking the distinction across generations in White Lotus has always been kind of fascinating. And the Ratliff kids, in ways both good and bad, have all really been characters on an arc, right?
Yeah.
They have all gone through some really notable change and reflection and introspection. I think, were most swept up by Tim's arc in the first few episodes, and like now have felt the halting of that, the arrested development of that a little bit. And Vicky never had that, kind of by design, right? But so like something is, I think the fact that we've moved so much with the kids has made that actually feel more palpably lacking over the last couple episodes with the parents, which is interesting, just inside of that family unit.
Is this show better if Rick had just brought Tim with him to Bangkok with Frank to
you just
pretend
wanted
to be
everyone
the
to go to
DP?
Bangkok. You're everyone comes to Bangkok.
I'm just trying to think of a way to make Tim more interesting other than just having no personality. Like, who would see Tim at a party and be like, "Yo, man, pull up a chair"?
I mean,
I'm going to go have
Gary,
a drink.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to go have a drink with the super sad, brooding guy over there who's just hammered at all times.
Okay, you didn't succeed in making me mad. What else you got?
This one will.
Yeah.
Okay, bring it.
Among the most boring scenes in the history of HBO, the Mook guy talk scenes. I've had it. I can't do it anymore.
You know what? I agree.
Interesting. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, we're just
It's
drawing out,
same.
and we're headed towards what feels like
it's just not good
the
enough.
inevitable conclusion, which is something that Mallory clocked really early on, which is this idea that like perhaps Guy Talk is involved in this gunfight in order because Mook, and I don't like the way these characters feel so one-dimensional to me. It's like he is in love with her, but is shy and retiring, and she wants ambition and violence, I guess. And
I'll go further.
you know,
why the hell has she attracted him in the first place? Because everything we found out about her in the 7th episode is kind of like the danger.
well, he's
Men should be men.
I
Men
think
should be
he's
ambitious and fight.
an objectively attractive person.
No
Yeah, but
question.
spend 2 minutes with them, and it's like, this guy's a
if
softie.
she's like, here's an objectively attractive person that I've been friends with my whole life, and I see him wanting more because that's sort of the indication that he gave her, maybe I can get my hot friend in the exciting package that I've always wanted, a twofer. Why not? You know? And
I think she's with like one of Sitala's bodyguards.
I'm sure that's where it's at.
Like that's like her type. It's clearly her type.
Yeah.
I think that's another interesting thing about this season where like Saxon has been so genuinely interesting to watch because he is routinely being confronted by people who are not a part of his life. Now, broadly, the premise of White Lotus is, as we've talked about many times, you could escape your whatever's back home, but you can't escape yourself, and often you can't escape your family or your best friends or whomever you're on vacation with. But scene to scene, He literally does, right? He's with Chelsea. He's with Chloe.
He's
Lamentably and
with Lachlan.
memorably, he's
Yeah.
with Lachlan. But, Mook and Guy Talk have known each other their entire lives. So it makes, like, on the one hand, this idea that he finally musters the courage to tell her how he feels really interesting. But on the other hand, like, the conversation in this episode where he's like, I just, like, I would never feel good about doing that. You kind of, like,
I just don't
wonder
feel like
why they never would have talked about that.
It's not only that, I just don't feel like I learned anything new about their characters this week, about Rick this week, honestly. Like, the Rick, on the bottom of my notes, I have what's not working, and I wrote Guy Talk and Mook, and I wrote Rick because not just that we were headed towards a conclusion that we kind of saw coming, because we saw incest coming. It doesn't matter if we see it coming, it's about how it's executed.
Right.
And it wasn't executed in a way where I feel like I'm like,
it was a little flat.
Wow, that character really went through something.
Can I zag on Rick?
Please.
Because maybe I interpreted it differently, because I actually really liked that whole scene.
Yeah. Tell me.
I might be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it was about when you build something up in your head for years and years and years about
for sure.
how it's going to play out when it happens. And this becomes part of your identity in life.
Yes.
And then he goes, and it's like he goes there. Scott Glenn's this old, frail.
Right, which he says.
Kind of near the end of his, which he says, near the end of his life. Has this moment, doesn't even want to hit him. Because it's like, I don't win if I do this. So shoves him out, they leave. And that thing in the end where he's sitting this thing, to me, I interpreted that as I was haunted by this thing for 20 years. Turned out whatever. And now, where am I going? And kind of where I'm going is I think I'm just going to be a huge fuck up.
That's so interesting. I think it's slightly different.
Okay,
but
tell
mostly
me.
the same. Like, I think I share your interpretation of that scene. Scott Glenn hits him with the Don Draper, I don't think about you at all. Like that's how that all goes down. He leaves, he goes out with Frank, they party. You see him in that scene. You see Chelsea calling him and getting nothing. And if you're Mallory at home, you're like, oh my God, come on.
Saxon's right
and then
there.
you see him get in the elevator and like surrounded by topless women, all this sort of stuff.
Couldn't
like
be
that.
happier. Like he's like.
But I kind of think the smile on his face is like, I don't need this anymore. Honestly, and we'll see what it goes in the finale. But I think that smile on his face is like, he's been drinking all night. He's been with them, but I don't think he's gonna have sex with any of those women. I don't think he's gonna smoke anything out of a pipe the way that like Frank is. Like I don't think he's gonna snort anything. I think he's just sort of like, I drank a bunch of whiskey. I saw Bangkok. I'm gonna go back to Chelsea, and we're gonna have a great life together.
Interesting, because he doesn't call her or reach out to her, which makes me think the opposite.
I think they're kind of trying to fake you out with that last shot of
Possible.
We'll see.
I found myself wondering when Frank asked him, like, okay, so you got closure? And he's like, yeah. Like, did he though? Because he didn't.
It just feels.
Isn't that the whole point? It's like
anything.
Sometimes you just don't get closure.
But this is absolutely.
You'd be like, man, someday I'm gonna, and then you have the convo, and it's like,
but if this were the defining truth of your life, like this quest and the absence of this
maybe he
thing,
realized that it shouldn't have been, and that he was being stupid the whole time.
for sure. Yeah. I don't think he felt he was being stupid. I think he felt validated in his obsession. And then it'll be interesting to see, like you said, what he says to Chelsea about it next week. That's probably the real tell. I mean, obviously we all wanted him to not use the gun, to pull away. And so I was
rooting for the gun. I was excited for it.
I also wanted.
Kill that guy.
I wanted Jim to be like, because he's like, Gloria, like he obviously knows who he's talking about. I wanted him to be like,
does he?
So you're say something, like to actually say something,
I
rewound
that scene multiple times, and I'm like, what is Scott Glenn trying to communicate in that line read of Gloria Hatchett? Mm-hmm. Is it like, I know who she is, or I don't know who the fuck you're talking about? I actually don't have a clear read on that.
I interpret it as, I remember the name.
Yeah.
But this is why you're here.
Yeah.
Like almost like somebody inconsequential that passed through his life.
Another follow-up question?
Yeah.
I don't know.
think I needed that scene to just have like 2 more exchanges.
Yeah.
And then I agree with you that it's just sort of like, oh, I built this up and it was nothing. I think that is like a good story to tell and one I wouldn't mind watching. But there was just something in that scene that just sort of like,
Yeah.
But maybe to your point, that's how I'm supposed to feel, just sort of like deflated by it, you know?
Yeah.
You know what was great about that scene?
All the cuts to Sitala and Frank / Steve watching her movie. That was incredible.
I love
They
a
should
Pippin
just put
reference.
that whole thing on YouTube, first of all.
Remarkable.
But Scott Glenn's office was just absolutely
whole house was cool.
Fantastic.
Whole house was cool.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I was
looking at every shelf he did, all the table choices. That was like a man's man office.
Dark glossy.
I was like, it checked every box.
Were you looking at every photo of a young Jim Hollinger waiting for Rick to say,
Is that Greg Gary in a cowboy hat?
Yes, it looks a lot like me.
I actually thought they were headed that way. I was surprised they didn't do that. But then I was also enjoying the Scott Glenn career retrospective photos where it's like, oh, they grabbed something from Urban Cowboy.
Yeah, 100% Urban Cowboy. Yeah. Can I take you quickly to white people Buddhism corner?
You could do that right after this break.
Wow.
All right, what do you got?
So in that exchange, Rick says, the secret in life is knowing when to stop. Someone once said, the secret in life is knowing when to stop. The person who said that is Alan Watts, famous white guy Buddhist. And I grew up in Mill Valley, California, which is like Mecca for white people who have found Buddhism. And that's where Alan Watts lived his life near Green Gulch Farm at the Druid Heights. Like this is like a Bay Area. I have brought Buddhism to the white people guy. He wrote The Way of Zen. 1957 was like this huge book, but he was a hugely controversial figure because, like, you know, plenty of people are like, thank you for bringing Buddhism to us, and plenty of people were like, is this the guy we want to be listening to about Buddhism? And I just want one last biological fact about Alan Watts, who I guess famously said the secret in life is knowing when to stop. He married 3 times, had 7 children, and died of alcoholism. So that does not sound to me like a guy who knows when to stop, personally. But you know,
I loved all that information, but I think you should have said Buddhism.
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 Okay, let me take it again, saying Buddhism. No,
Buddhism. I have 2 more small nitpicks.
Please.
I'm so disappointed I couldn't.
Anger me?
Yeah.
Is all you want in life?
I was excited for a little tension. I don't think anybody would have not had their phone for this long.
But, okay.
It's 5 rat lifts. I just think.
But why does everyone else get to keep their phones? Pam's the only stickler? Chelsea's got her phone. She's calling Rick all the time. Kate is like, I'm texting Laurie. Like, they all have their phones except the rat lifts.
I think it's so we don't know that he's off the hook.
But then that's kind of.
I just think Dad is such a mess at this point that they're like, Dad hasn't talked to us in 3 days. I'm going to go get my phone.
Yeah.
Or if you're Saxon and your dad is acting like a complete maniac like this, you're not going to be like, I got to get my phone. Like, he's got to be hiding something from me. I just think you'd be more cunning about it than they are.
I agree.
My last one.
Yep.
It's a big one. I can't wait for your take. I just don't think the 3 fancy cougars would have stayed in touch.
At all.
Okay,
I don't think they're in touch anymore. I think it's like some occasional texting and maybe a happy birthday.
Let me take you to my favorite corner, which is I listened to an interview corner. And
I was waiting.
Leslie Bibb said that she feels like Kate is the person who has like kept this group together.
Makes sense.
And that Laurie and Jacqueline don't really talk to each other, but she talks to Laurie and she talks to Jacqueline. Yeah. And that it was like, even though Jacqueline's the one paying for this trip, it was sort of like Kate's idea of like, let's all get together and go on a trip, a girls' trip, a victory tour together as part of her perfectionism. Perfect wife, perfect mom. I've got
my perfect friends,
my perfect friends
from
from back home. Yeah. That kind of makes sense to me.
My takeaway after 7 episodes now.
Yep.
I don't think Jacqueline and Laurie have talked on the phone probably in 3.5, 4 years.
I agree.
And I think they maybe text every once in a while.
I think that's clear. That's
But the way they set it up in the first episode, it seemed like they were way closer.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about like the boat ride. You know, we get the boat ride here and then the boat ride back. And the boat ride here in the opening episode, again, like Mike White called them the blonde blob. They're like a 3-headed sort of giggling and like as close as can be. And can't you just see them going, if they all make it, going back home, each sitting on like a different part of the ship. And they're like never.
Right. And that's how this ends.
They're like never going to talk to each other again.
Yeah. Or perhaps more depressing than that, not doing that, because that would actually be the healthy thing, is to say like we don't
faking it.
Yeah, continuing to like engage in this shared delusion that they have something
That
to
is
hold
very White
on to.
Lotus.
Like
Yeah.
that would be, I think, more tragic, right?
Here's what
We have to keep telling each other we're
where's this
committed to this
rosé?
friendship. I mean,
is that rosé?
boy, that rosé looked good when it came. Beautiful hue.
A large frosty glass of rosé, delightful. Can we
I
have that
agree.
for the finale?
Yeah.
Mike White just he knows how to play the hits.
I agree.
This group is clearly starting it out with rosé when
Right.
there's this
No
much
question.
tension.
Can I hit you with my
Biggest nitpick?
No, hottest take? Well, maybe it's a nitpick.
Okay.
I also don't think the Belinda story has been interesting. You've been saying this all season. It's still
I didn't even want to go there anymore.
It's still falling flat for me. But what I do suspect, I think she's going to take that money.
For Zion, because he's like, do this.
And for Pornchai, who's like, let's start a spa together.
I mean,
I think she's taking that money.
I think it's.
I agree.
But
these are
if
the
I
worst.
were Belinda,
Yeah,
I'm
ask for
holding
more.
out more than $100,000.
You have seen the house now.
Yeah.
You
Way
have
more
seen
than
the
That's
house.
a first offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it better
For
be.
$250, maybe
No.
I won't tell anyone.
No, you don't say yes for a cent less than $1 million.
Oh.
Are you kidding?
Okay.
That you saw that house? Tanya was canonically worth $500 million.
Million is like-
I would say 500,000. That's what I'd say. $500,000.
She counters
I
at
go-
$1 million. Maybe she settles at 500, but
You also don't want to get caught, or you want to do it as seamlessly as possible. So you
he's
might want to
managed
shoot
to
lower.
evade detection for 2 years.
That's another one of my small nitpicks was how did he escape with this much money?
Yeah. Because couldn't
Yeah.
if the
Like
authorities
how much money did Jennifer Coolidge have?
a ton.
$500 million.
But if the authorities are looking for him, can't they just follow the money?
Right.
Wouldn't they be able to find him with the money trail?
For the amount of money he apparently has, that he could buy a house like that and live whatever and have
the
a whole
yacht.
staff and a yacht and all that stuff, I feel like that's a lot of red flags all
Yeah.
over the place for whoever. And then all of his crew died, right? So maybe it would be no trace to him.
Well, they
Well,
were
here's-
like, I don't know that they had any real connection to him other than his history with Quentin.
Are you ready
right?
for me to slightly zag on Greg Gary?
You're into it.
I'm not into it, but
Your
I'm just
favorite
saying,
character is Saxon, and your second favorite is Greg Gary.
I'm just saying, do we think he's actually a killer? Because
yes. Yes.
everything went badly with Tanya. But I don't think he has it in him to kill Belinda. And now we know that he just wants to watch Saxon. And I actually believe that story.
I can't wait to talk about that. I can't wait to talk about
Yeah,
that.
So
we-
like we were
Holy
like, oh,
shit.
is he going to try to kill Saxon? Oh, is he trying to kill Belinda? No, he wants to watch Saxon have sex with Chloe, and he wants to pay Belinda off.
I think that he would, if it came down to it, have not a nary a qualm about ending Belinda's life. I believe that he sincerely does not want to complicate his life. He doesn't want the mess. He doesn't want a body on his doorstep, a doorstep he genuinely hopes he never has to leave.
Once again, I just think bathing him in red light,
Great outfit.
bathing him in red light and having him glower down at her feels like a little like Mike White heavy-handed. I'm gonna switch the flip the switch on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Start of the episode, we start out with Rick and Frank meet Sitala,
Yeah,
her husband.
crushed it.
The head monk, what's that guy's name? Do we know yet?
Mallory
Yeah.
knows.
Head guy?
Yeah. No. Luang Portera.
He's preaching against violence, spiritual harm to the victim and the perpetrator.
Mallory,
This was great. I loved
the
this.
Yoda vibes.
Have you? So we
Oh.
literally get violence, aggression, anger stem from the same source, fear. Bill, have you ever heard that fear is the path to the dark side? Remember last week we invoked Star Wars? I mean, this
That's
is
Yoda?
it, right? Fear is the path to the
I
dark
mean,
side. Fear leads
George
to anger.
Lucas-
Anger leads to hate leads to suffering.
George
It's like-
Lucas took all of this
Yeah.
from Eastern
you sure
religion.
did. You
but,
really feel it here.
how did you feel about when he says fear and then we go on Guy Talk's face?
Yes,
How did
I
you feel
like that
about
we got every one of us has the capacity to kill Rick's face. Fear, Guy Talk's face, and the violence does spiritual harm to the victim and perpetrator. Tim popping pills. Like all of them mixed in over that sequence. Wonderful.
Saxon,
Sit with your feelings. Not everybody can sit with their feelings. Can you sit with your feelings?
only if I'm on an airplane and the Wi-Fi's out.
Hell is a flight with
Wow.
no Wi-Fi.
If you're raw dog
That's
in a flight, you can sit with your
the
feelings.
feelings.
you
Yeah.
don't just like listen to like you don't have like anything downloaded already for the flight.
Well,
I
that's
down-
why you
I
have an
download
iPad with
pods
books,
in
yeah,
advance.
and
Yeah,
some,
yeah.
some stuff.
Yeah.
Saxon convinces his parents to go to a party with the boat people.
Just astonishing stuff. I'm already dolled up.
Boone and Zion debate going to Greg Gary's party, and the fancies go to dinner so they can just hate each other's guts. So that's how we started. All right, we'll talk Frank and Rick first. So this is so ridiculous that they're doing this like...
They're shit con.
But I actually loved the enforcer, the executor, and the notary.
That's
the trilogy.
That was
I
very
thought that
good.
was so fucking funny.
Was that inspired by The Accountant, you think?
I think so.
Yeah,
it's a fun...
The Accountant part 2.
Yeah.
What's your movie? It's a fun caper. It's a thriller. There's killings. There's double crossings and action. He just lists like every genre that exists.
If I'm Frank is a better person than I am because Frank comes out of there and he's like, let's paint the town red.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'd be like, dude, fuck you.
Fuck you for giving me no prep whatsoever.
Yeah,
what are you doing on the boat?
Yeah.
Why didn't they be like, hey, here are 4 titles that she did?
And
like, give her 15 minutes
here's
scouting.
what I told her about what the movie was about.
And Rick had the lunch, right, where he should be prepared for these questions because she asked him questions that he was not prepared to
It's
answer.
almost like Rick's not competent.
No prep work.
And then Rick was just sitting there staring down Jim Hollander. I was
Crazy.
so
What do we
aggravated.
think Rick did for a living?
Con man. This and that, as Gary would
He
say.
can't have survived this long on those shoddy
He's
con
a terrible
skills.
con man, though.
He's so bad
Well,
at
I
it.
think they were both pretty bad
I
at
can't
it.
believe he had enough money to go to the White Lotus.
There's a reason that Frank was like, I had to leave America, and Rick is like, I can't
Go
go
back to Australia.
Like,
Right.
they're bad at this, clearly. Wait, do you guys have an updated theory for what show Jacqueline is on? Because Jim and Sitala were like, yeah, this actress
It's
is staying
always
at our
been
hotel.
CBS.
So it's something they watch.
Something Blue Bloods-ish.
Well, that's what Sita said
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Yeah,
She's like,
but like Jim,
my husband
too.
and I. She's
He's
like, my
right.
husband and I love
The
it.
Yeah,
fact
we-
that he's like, so
we know it's
from,
a Blue Bloods type
we
show.
know from this exchange now that Jim is only watching stuff that Sitala watches, right? So he's not the one who brought them to that. Does that any other? No, same
It's
thing.
CBS,
Procedural.
it's
Okay, we're
probably
sticking with
10
procedural.
o'clock.
Okay, yeah. All right.
She's either a detective or she's married to the sergeant.
Or she's a doctor.
Oh, she's a doctor, right?
Yeah.
She's a
Grey's
surgeon.
Anatomy is sort of what.
Yeah,
a lot
it's one of
people
those.
think.
But we've
Yeah.
we're not walking
like
dead.
a Ellen Pompeo type
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's
be.
good.
Could be.
I feel like they would have mentioned it if it was a doctor show. And by the way, Mike White, fuck you. This could have been a good scene.
Well,
Why couldn't we have heard what Jacqueline
right?
showed us?
He didn't want. He deliberately didn't
Why
want to
couldn't
tell
we have
us.
seen it on the TV and like
For this reason
done the
right
Forgetting
now.
Sarah Marshall where they show a quip of the
So that we could
procedural?
be debating it right now, just
What
like
is
we're
it?
debating why Rick couldn't tell Frank/Steve, or by the way, remember his cover name? I mean, that is just fucking shameful, embarrassing shit from Rick.
But also, why does he
couldn't be
have
like,
a cover name?
Exactly.
Nobody knows who Frank is.
The best part was the prostitute part.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
You okay?
No. You're madam.
Don't come up with the movies you directed. Don't actually get any titles for the films she's been in. But if you're going to share one thing, say, by the way, I told her that we're coming to their house because you're interested in basing the character off her. So if you're going to offer up anything, maybe don't say that she's a prostitute
and
who
if you're-
became a
Right.
madam.
And if you're Jim Hollinger and you're not like actively senile,
yeah.
why are you going to a second location with this guy who's just been staring holes in
Right.
you and is clearly there not to put your wife in a movie?
Let's go to the den.
Yeah, let's go to my den
So,
alone without any of my
kind
security.
of drinker. Yeah.
Like-
Watching it, I was interpreting it as we're going to find out Rick's his son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they didn't do that at all.
They didn't.
And it just seemed like.
Do you guys think that's off the table for the
No.
finale? I think that could still happen.
Well, they did have one moment when he chugged the drink.
Yeah, he's
and
like, my
Scott
kind of
Glenn's like, my
drinker.
kind of guy. Like,
Yeah.
almost my kind of drinker. Yeah.
And I think they picked young photos of Scott Glenn that look like Walton
I don't think
Goggins.
it's off the table, but I would be surprised if we got more of this in the finale. Then again, it's a 90-minute finale, and Rick is presumably
Save
going
that for
back to their,
predictions.
Yeah. Well, right.
their property.
Okay, save it for predictions. Because, yeah, what the bodyguards have to pursue. But are they pursuing to kill
You
him or to
were-
say...
He saw one movie. You were royalty or something, like a
Yeah.
queen.
And she's like, yeah.
And that
yeah,
one
that
somehow
was
worked.
great.
Crush it.
Scott Glenn says, after we take it to the den, this is a great country, not a lot of red tape.
Mhm.
If you want to cut it, you have lots of options.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys think that Frank/Steve was going to maybe try to fuck Sitala? He's like,
Give him 3 more
Interesting.
whiskeys, and
Yeah.
I'm sure he would have.
anything could happen. Also, when the
happen.
when the drinks are delivered, and he's like, "What's your name? You're lovely."
Yeah. Eye on the prize, Frank Steve. Eye on the prize.
Unbelievable.
I've always been partial to the actors who order a drink who are
Yeah.
falling off the rag and calling the waitress or the bartender darling.
Oh,
I'll take another one, darling.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just not cool enough to ever do that.
I also
I'm
like
falling off the
Darlin.
wagon. Darlin's
Actually,
good.
Darlin, my favorite
Sonny
Darlin is
Crockett
like
trick.
when a waitress calls you Darlin.
Oh. Yeah.
That's
Darlin either way is great.
Darlin is good.
I've fantasized about this moment 1,000 times. You ruined my fucking life. Can't do a quick exit. Some nitpicks on the quick exit. I think one bodyguard goes to the house and the other one is probably like, why are these fucking guys hightailing it out of here?
A boat?
I hope that Rick tells Mook that those bodyguards are absolutely inept and not any better than guy talk, honestly, at their jobs.
They're like the Austin Powers bodyguards, like just falling into an oil vat.
One thing before we get to their not so hasty escape is when Scott Glenn's Jim Hollinger says, I'm more careful, I have more to lose.
Mm-hmm.
I was sort of hoping, though I don't feel like I really saw it.
Yeah.
I was sort of hoping I would see Rick absorb that and think about Chelsea and say, I have something to lose in this moment. I can't just like shoot this guy or whatever because it puts at risk a precious thing that I have, which is Amy Lou Wood, our favorite. You know,
I think particularly in this season where for Jim Hollinger, this has been a source of clarity and perspective. But for someone like Tim Ratliff, that is like an anchor pulling him ever deeper into the abyss, right? All of the things that he fears to lose. So like characters respond to that idea differently, which I think would have made it even more compelling to see Rick really like interrogate it.
But also, what are we talking about when we talk about things to lose? Are we talking about material things and stature? Or are we talking about
family respect? Yeah. For Tim, like it's kind of everything right now, right? Like the way that now he has Saxon on top of Vicky saying like, I basically have nothing.
Are we sure Rick didn't come to the conclusion that maybe he doesn't need to be with Chelsea or shouldn't be?
He could. I mean, I'm
just trying to hold on to the Saxon and Chelsea on the boat together.
Okay, this is where we will be divided and fight. This is our tension.
Yeah,
I will be a Rick and Chelsea truther, and you can vote for Chelsea and Saxon.
They have a yin yang relationship.
Yeah. She's hoping he's Pain. Something's gonna win.
Quite a combo.
Incredible
anyway, they somehow get away. All right, move to the fancies.
Okay.
How'd you feel about Fabienne's performance?
Astonishing stuff.
Home maybe cold and dirty, but it's still home.
What singer is he channeling with some of those?
Well, it was a soothing tune.
He was in a show called Babylon Berlin where he sang a lot, and so I feel like my White was like sort of similar,
tapping into it,
sort of similar to Rick and Frank being like, "And you get to sing." Would you like to be in White Lotus? You get to sing.
So we get some info when Carrie Coon officially just gets mad, and Jackie's trying to be like, can we just move on? And Carrie Coon won't let it go. And then she says to Kate, was it a big deal when she did the same thing with Dave? So what do we think happened? So Kate, because it was like 15 years ago, but it's longer than that because Kate's got kids, or maybe it wasn't. So we're saying Kate got married 15 years ago.
It was Lori's wedding.
Or Lori got married 15 years ago. And Kate was there with her husband. And Jackie was hitting on the husband?
Or they weren't married yet or whatever. But yeah. I believe that Jacqueline did that.
Again, like we talked about.
I believe it, but I don't know if that one's recoverable.
Well, Kate
doesn't
moved on. She said, wait, what? And then,
kind
of just like one more thing. But this is again,
what
like we talked about last week, that mimetic desire.
Adam that time? At the wedding.
He's a handsome guy. He's got that
had him in the corner talking
face.
Marvel, and then he just all of a sudden you're like, what's going on with
the thing is,
two?
I know that's never happened simply because in the decade plus we've been together, he's never left our home. So.
I like when Adam takes strays.
I don't.
He's the best.
But you haven't left your home either. No, that's why he's with you.
Exactly. Just to be here with you two. This is that mimetic desire idea again. Like every season, here it is. I'm interested in why Mike White is like so interested in this in friend groups.
I think Jacqueline is the biggest monster in the show.
Once again, Tim Ratliff.
For what Mike Wright's trying to do?
Greg Gary. Like, I really do feel like but in terms of like emotional damage.
Greg Gary, whatever. He killed one wife. Jacqueline is just a serial relationship abuser.
I would just like to keep it all in perspective while also not defending Jacqueline in any way whatsoever.
No, I don't. But it's clearly Mike White's working some stuff out with this Jacqueline character. Would be my take.
I thought that this was like a fascinating Fancy Cougs episode for so many reasons, but one of which is, and it's not the first time this season, but like, there's just no accountability or self-awareness from any of them. honestly, including Laurie, who we love. Like that's actually what's interesting about it is that Jacqueline, I agree, is a bad friend and seemingly a monstrous person who will justify her own behavior to herself in any way she can. But when she has like the complete conviction to say to Laurie, like, you kind of just keep fucking up your own life. There's a part of you when you're watching that's like, oh, I wonder if she's onto something. And then we see Laurie in this situation at the end of the episode where she's like,
I think that everything everyone at the table said was true.
Exactly.
If you're not happy with your own life, change it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think there is balance then. Like Jacqueline is terrible, but she's not wrong. And Laurie is someone we've rooted for, but she's behaving poorly.
But that's been true all season. Yeah. As they gossip about each other, it's all shitty and it's also all true.
Yeah. And it's just like at a fever pitch in this scene.
Not a nice person.
No. She's doing something here that I found very, I don't have a Jacqueline Lemon specifically in my life, but just I found this very recognizable. The person who is like
100%.
Just basically believes their own hype and their own lies and their own bullshit.
You're
like
lucky to be in my orbit and I'm always right.
Yeah. Like she just genuinely has convinced herself that everything about the way that she has conducted herself is like completely
and they're lucky to be in her orbit.
My wife, projection going around at that
My
table.
wife pointed this out during episode 7. And I think it's intentional, made Michelle Monaghan not look as good in episode 7 as she looked in previous episodes, but Carrie Coon's character looked better.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's...
Carrie Coon's hair was sleeker. The red dress looked
Michelle
amazing.
Monaghan looks like a mess by the end of this episode.
She's still
Michelle
Monaghan.
Still beautiful.
But she's
you know
wearing,
what I mean, though?
But she's wearing like boxers and a robe. You know, like it's like she's in
Her
a
hair's
slightly
messed
more
up.
Laurie outfit than she's been.
Laurie, right.
Yeah.
She looks more normal. But I thought that was notable.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Michelle Monaghan was starting to get that Faye Dunaway, Mommy Dearest kind of look to her by the end of this episode. Like,
you know what else she did that I
crazy
fucking hate
face.
when people do? Is like she started the ship and then she's acting like the calm one. She's doing the like, what are you getting so heated about?
That's what Laurie says.
Fucking hate when people
Laurie's like, you did something shitty and I'm the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
I loved when Kate was like, you're not mad about Valentin. And
you could have hooked up with
Laurie's
Valentin.
like, no, I'm mad about Jacqueline. That was
could have hooked up with Valentin, chose to marry Brian, chose to take that shitty job where she's not a partner.
Tough one for Brian.
You always choose the short stick. Is that bad luck or are you life's victim? You're doing it to yourself.
Incredibly fucked up thing to say to somebody in your life.
Really pointed.
Jesus.
Later, Kate saying, I feel bad, but I guess you don't, so...
Great stuff. Great stuff.
So then Laura's response is, you're always fake and fronting that your life is perfect, and you're vain and selfish.
Yeah. Yep. All true.
Yeah. And then she goes to the fight.
I also loved her fight, like her fight look. The like stripy pants and the t-shirt.
Yeah. Huge winner this episode.
Yeah, looks great.
Greg Gary's party. Vicky comes in. It's a cult. Chelsea and Saxon, that's going to be you in 30 years.
Not a nice
Why are
thing
you
to
so
say.
mean to me?
Yeah. Not
Saxon, showing a heart.
Oh, yeah.
His baby soul
Saxon
is growing.
has feelings.
It's growing.
Why are you being so mean to me?
Yeah.
Right here, I'm a human being like you. I just got jerked off by my brother 2 days ago. I'm going through some stuff.
Schwarzenegger gave a great interview on the official pod where he was talking about how like the log line for his character was Southern finance bro who likes to flirt.
Yeah.
And then Mike White's like, we need to really make sure that people don't hate this guy. Like he needs to be like enjoyable to watch.
Not a worry, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Mike, we were on board the whole time.
But that also like that because Saxon's on this arc of change, this growth arc inside of this season, that he kept trying to like rush that.
Yeah.
And Mike White's like, no, we've only been here a few days.
Yeah.
Like we want a realistic, this is just a few days of growth for Saxon. So we still have miles to go and piles of books to read and stuff like that.
We've got some incest that we've got to sprinkle in.
But like we're on a very like slow growth journey. And making him vulnerable, making him all these other things has, engaged my interest.
What did you
I'm
guys
so
think
happy
of
to hear that.
in that conversation? Because Saxon kind of volleys back, right? And he's like, well, you know, you're dating this old bald dude with a bunch of money. How's that any different?
Another shot at Goggins' hair. Goggins' hair is a big loser this season.
It looks great, but it has come up quite a bit. You're right. What did you think of Chelsea saying? Because she's like, that's not the reason I'm with him. And Saxon asked what the appeal is, and she says, the first day we met, he told me his whole life story, and I just knew we were meant to be together. Now, we know that that
left
is not true.
Very key parts
because
of his
in
life
this
story.
season of television, which means mere days ago in their
Correct.
3-year relationship, he told her the most important thing about his life. Correct. So is this a lie she's telling herself that I know this person?
Yes.
Or is it...
She sees the good in him for whatever reason.
Truth?
Yeah.
But if she just wants to fix him,
it's a yin-yang battle,
Saxon's
Mallory.
right there, and he's like, fix me.
Could be another yin-yang battle for her.
There's a limit.
Ride or die. Rick and Chelsea,
limit.
ride or die. I hope Saxon goes home and finds his own Chelsea. I want that for him.
Yes.
But he can't take Rick's Chelsea. That's how I feel about that.
If she's home, Hope, and Rick is Pain, and eventually one of them will win. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to find out the winner in episode 8.
Yeah.
My guess.
It's got to be Hope.
I sure
Saxon
hope so.
talks to Dad for an answer. Everything's fine.
I found that scene completely heartbreaking as a Saxon
I don't have
enthusiast.
anything else but this.
That was
I put my whole life in your basket.
Yeah. If I'm not a success, then I'm nothing. Now, interestingly, we've heard the other character who we've heard say, like, I'm nothing is Rick. But he was kind of saying it, I think it was episode 3 to Amrita, right? Like, as like almost an embrace.
We had a really interesting email from a listener who was talking about the way in which Westerners, when they try to embrace Buddhism, that they're set the American specifically idea of like the individual and how important the individual is. And then as we learned in last week's episode, we are but a mere drop of water in a large ocean, and we will return to that ocean. It's counter to that idea of individualism, and how a lot of Westerners ingest that idea the wrong way and don't really take it to mean what it's supposed to mean. And so I think this idea that like Saxon is like, I'm nothing, but that's actually like a step in the right direction. And when he says, I could be someone else if I wanted to Chelsea, that was like, this is a step in the right direction.
That was great. And it's like,
no blender this episode for him though.
I am more concerned than I've ever been about the poison fruit.
Here's my treat to you. It's from our listener, Ben. I'm calling this section, Will It Blend? And he says
you can't blend the seed pods?
He says the fruit in question, the cerebral mangus, it looks like a mango, but inside it is not fleshy like a mango. It's corky inside, like cork, it floats. It is indeed called the suicide tree all the way to the South Pacific. What is poisonous is the white latex, which comes out when you slice the outer skin. There's certainly no way to blend the fruit.
Oh.
Could you like grate it? Peel it? I feel like Tim Ratliff ended the episode looking for the gun and not finding it, and now he's gonna find a way to make a poison smoothie for his entire family.
This is for the first time, alas, I'm out on the blender theory.
Are you officially out on the monkeys as well?
No, I'm always holding on hope for the monkeys.
Couldn't Mike White just pretend that fruit thing doesn't exist?
He definitely could.
How would we know?
Yeah.
Unless it's like your
no question.
Crazy reader on ChatGPT.
Can I do one more quick fact check? Only because I've gotten ceaseless emails about this. Charlotte Le Bon is not Simon Le Bon's daughter.
Oh.
So was it
CR
who lied to you?
people about that.
Was it CR who lied to you? Who lied to you about that? Yeah.
That sounds like CR's work. Yeah, it was CR.
But sounds like CR's work, but we don't know for sure. Sad.
I'm so disappointed.
What did you like? What did you think about the meta? You know, I'll always be seen by everyone else as Timothy Ratliff's son. And I'm okay with that, right?
Oh, the Schwarzenegger moment?
The very like meta Nepo baby line. I like that. I thought that was great. And he had a lot of emotional heft behind delivering that line. But then, of course, how can we not think back to in the phone securing manipulation scene in episode 3 when Tim was saying, and again, he was doing this deliberately to get the phones, but like, we both know how gratifying work is, right? That scene. And he was like, we got to have something else to offer. And even though it was a game, watching Saxon move to the point of actually confronting the fact that he doesn't feel like he has anything else to offer has been, I think, quite compelling. And then to see the way Tim has now, when he is engaging in his latest, what's the term for the person who kills their entire family?
Oh, and family annihilator.
Family annihilator, daydream, disturbing term. He's now added Saxon into that, right? He sees himself shooting Vicky, and then Saxon comes in and shooting him because he's now carrying this exchange with Saxon. He had the prior line from Vicky about how she wouldn't want to go on living, and now he has Saxon saying, like, without our professional success, like, what do I have? And so he feels like he has not only destroyed his own life and legacy, but that he has left his family, like, unequipped to find any purpose or meaning in their lives. And so for Saxon through Chelsea or whatever to like work toward a different state of being, I think is really interesting and cool. He's sitting with his feelings. He wasn't at the monastery. He didn't hear that line about sitting with his feelings, but he's actually doing it. Good for him.
I liked your meta Arnold Schwarzenegger thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
One other thing at the party, Vicky
Yes.
tries to get one of the young pretties out of the relationship with the old guy.
Just come to North Carolina.
I just think they're putting in scenes just so
Remarkable.
Parker Posey can cook for like 90 seconds.
This was really funny. And she's like,
I support it.
You have a lot of money? You can't ask that. Great.
Also at the party, Greg Gary offers Belinda $100K.
man.
Tanya always talked about you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's interesting because it must be true for him to know this whole story. That's interesting to know about Tanya because I kind of expected.
She's really excited to help you. Was she?
I kind of expected that when Tanya left the White Lotus, she never talked about Belinda again. But it seems like she has to have talked about her some for Greg Gary to know this story. You know,
I doubt that Belinda ever told Greg Gary really any of the story for more than like 10 seconds.
I think because to me that's like more deplorable.
She was such a narcissist. I can't imagine her being
That's why I think she did it because she would spend all her time saying, I made this connection with this person. She gave me this wonderful head massage. It was really transformative. I should have done it. I should have given her the money. I should have invested. I feel bad. I wish I'd done it. And what was stopping her? Absolutely nothing.
And Greg Gary's like, someday I'm going to murder you and then stay at another hotel chain as I hide away that's related to the same hotel where I murdered you.
On the same hotel chain.
Definitely not Simon Le Bon's daughter.
I knew she'd want me to spend the rest of my years in peace. He's just full of shit. Belinda gets out of there. I wasn't that interested. Chloe wants Saxon to stay for a Gary threesome. You have my interest back.
Astonishing scene. Astonishing scene.
I'm not sure what porn search this is, but it's definitely sounds like it's a porn search. No, it's can we pretend to be me as a little kid watching my parents have sex?
Yeah, watching Dad
I'll be the
go into
grown-up.
town.
I'll be the grown-up little kid, and you'll pretend to be the parents. This was some
like
fucked up
it's
shit.
like a combination Oedipal Electra complex.
Yeah, totally.
In the blender together.
Mike White, it's like, this is maybe why he doesn't need a writer's room because he can just
cooking.
come up with
He's
shit like
always
this.
cooking.
Can you come up with this? Maybe you don't need help.
Okay, well, let me ask you guys. I think, so this seems true, or at least partially true.
It's
are we
insane.
sure?
I don't understand it at all.
Well, okay. Are we sure that this is true and not still just a ploy to lure Saxon into a vulnerable position so that he could get his vengeance? Because there is yet again another lie that we know is a lie. Like Greg Gary
I feel like
tells...
this whole thing's a lie.
Greg Gary tells Chloe, Tanya and I never had sex. But that is, again, not true. And we know it's not true because we see them have sex many times, including the possibly still this day best moment in the history of the show where they're having sex in season 2. And then Tanya has her, like, as she says, I disassociated. And she starts to see his eyes and he looks like a shark and then she just pushes him off.
I mean, but what's true is
Great
that he did not want to have sex with her.
Certainly.
And
but the way that he frames it to Chloe is a lie. Is a lie.
But I like the idea that the reason that he didn't want to have sex with her is that he was unable to talk about what he needed from a sexual situation because it is this fucked up, you know? So
I feel like Tanya would have been like, whatever you want, my guy.
I think Tanya would have been good with it. We should have been good at all things. Well, Gary needs Saxon to fuck Chloe while he watches.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this.
What's sad is I immediately thought of what Mallory's reaction was watching this and how she couldn't be more excited to talk about this on the pod. So what do you think?
Saxon, not into
Helping Gary?
Helping Gary. Saxon, he's like, it's literally just been a day since my brother jerked me off. So I'm going to pass.
Lot for this week.
I'm going to pass. I'm still processing that.
I can't get a boner anymore. I can't do it.
I really love that Chelsea's like, sorry. Oh,
I thought Chelsea's faces were great. Like she seemed hopeful.
Yeah, but she's like,
this
sorry,
would be really cool if
you
you did this for Gary. She's like looking back and forth.
Sorry that didn't work out. Sorry. Yeah.
I'm going to unveil my Patrick Schwarzenegger impersonation.
Okay.
Ready?
Good. Have to have good posture.
Yeah.
What? No. No. What? No.
The what no. Recurring what no is my
what no.
favorite.
He's like, does a what no.
He does.
That's one of his moves.
Yeah.
But we cut back. Don't sleep on this part. Gary just kind of watching
Watching them.
super creepy.
Yeah, well,
Kind of like, hey guys,
either plotting murder or really
Right here.
genuinely into it.
this is the sitting position I'll
Yeah.
be in as I watch the two of you have sex before eventually pretending I'm upset
I
about
think
it.
he has to be leaning.
like
I
this.
think he has to be leaning against the door frame. Yeah, I think that's clear. He can't be sitting comfortably. He needs to be leaning against the door frame, watching Dad go to town on Mom.
Saxon wouldn't even consider it.
No, he left.
He what? No, note it.
He's like, oh, I found my limit. Here it is.
Meanwhile, the Buddhist complex wasn't that exciting.
Well, what is going on here? Okay, so
yeah.
first of all, so what's clear is this. Piper goes, the food sucks. The bed's uncomfortable. She can hear the dripping water. This
We're
is
done
everything.
she's done by the end of
this is everything that Victoria wanted. Like,
Vicky's praying against it.
He
Yeah.
didn't even have to pray.
this is everything
Yeah.
Victoria
Locked.
wanted.
Yeah.
Piper's done. I don't know that I have a full read on her weird reaction to Lachlan. I understand why Lachlan wants to stay. Lachlan's like, I never want to go home.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I jerked off my brother, and that's disturbing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to live here forever.
Was there?
It's
Did you
monastery
catch
time.
a whiff of sexual tension, or was I so scarred by
That's
the
what
incest?
Rob was worried that they were going to like go there. I don't.
Because he's shirtless and he's like,
Yeah.
I want to stay with you. And I, for a split second, I was like, no,
Yeah.
no, please, no,
Is
Mike,
that what
wait.
you think? Like, because Piper's
No,
like,
it faded away.
No,
She
there
was
was like
grossed
a
out.
second.
But
where-
what is
Yeah.
Piper's like reaction? What is that?
What I read in that was like, first of all, we've gone from the Lelaki tug of war, right? Saxon and Piper warring for his
Now nobody
loyalty,
wants
his
him.
presence, his soul. To now everyone's like, what? No.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to share this much with you, whether it's life in
Yeah.
the monastery or a hand job during sex with Chloe, whatever the case may be. What I read in that in Piper's response to Lockie was like, okay, and this is obviously in the same mix as like the dripping water pipe and the food and all the other stuff. No conversation with the people around her.
Yeah.
How much of this is genuine commitment, belief, interest, and how much of it has always just been, I will be the rebel. I will be the
I'm
one.
the zagger.
Yeah, in my family who does something different.
If
And
you
as
do it
soon
too, then
as
I'm
Lockie
not
does
special.
It, exactly.
I like
As
that.
soon as
Yeah.
Lockie does it, it's like not bold of her to
Needs
make
to do zag.
to stake her claim to being the
OnlyFans
one who
is
broke
next
away.
now. That's the one way to zag on everybody.
I mean, it's by Gary. I think that's like, what's Gary's OnlyFans? I mean, my
Gary-
God.
Gary has the worst OnlyFans. He has no
But I love-
subscribers.
I love this idea of like, then again, thinking about the boat home.
Yeah.
Thinking about Saxon as like, we go there to the island and Piper's got her nose in a book. And what if we go home and Saxon's reading a book and Piper's as far away from life as a monastery as she's ever been? You know what I mean? Where she's like, the food sucks.
Yep.
The bed's uncomfortable. It's all this dripping. I don't like it.
Not
Yeah.
a lot of evidence that Piper's a good hang. I just want to point that out too.
I can't disagree.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Yeah.
Not
no.
really sure what she cares about other than trying to zag against her family, but being committed to it for about 18 hours.
I mean, this is a huge, huge win for Vicky.
Yeah, big L for Piper.
Huge L for Piper.
Yeah.
Huge win for Vicky. Remember when Lachlan said to Saxon in episode 5, but what if this life is just a test to see if we can become better people? And Saxon said, no.
Wait,
What?
What? No.
What? Wild times.
Mook and God Talk, we covered the fight. The Russians show up, which was, I guess we should have mentioned this sooner. This is the other
Yeah.
big thing we learned this episode. We were guessing this for 5 episodes. that they were the-
Stylistically, I did not like this either. Like
they were
us
the
going
jewelry
into
people.
Guy Talk's
You-
flashback line. I hate that.
Hate an in-episode flashback.
We remember. It's like this was
That's true. If it's 22
Yeah.
episodes,
Yeah.
I could see it. But
I mean, it was they did enough to. It's clearly Guy Talk remembering and piecing together the dots. So like that's fine, but kind of like I don't know. We remember. We know. We don't need you to
I
hold
feel
our.
like
I
you
hands.
could've
I forgot the Valentine on the motorcycle as like
Inside Man.
I forgot that part.
Mm.
So I did need the flashback for that.
So Laurie also saw the loot, right?
Yeah.
She saw the stash during
She
her
did.
bare-assed escape.
She did.
I had an issue. That was another small nitpick. I think the loot's in a bag or something. You're just going to leave it out on a
Or
table.
sold already, right? Pawned off for coin.
Yeah. Well, so Guy Talk realizes it's them.
Yes.
So now he's in the shooting zone. Greg Gary might be shooting somebody. Tim's looking for a gun from anybody. Sitala and Scott Glenn and the bodyguards might be coming back because they know
Well, Rick is still in
Goggins
Bangkok.
is staying there.
He's on the fucking clock to get back to the White Lotus if he's going to play a role in the shootout,
Yeah.
as are the bodyguards. And he
then,
threw out his
But also,
gun.
if
He threw out
he's-
his gun.
Here's my question.
Mm.
He did this.
Yeah.
He knocked, okay, maybe, no, I'm still a Rick and Chelsea believer, but if I'm Rick,
Yeah.
I'm hightailing it back to the White Lotus
Yeah.
immediately. And I'm like, pack your bags, we got to go.
Right.
I knocked an old man over in his chair.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we're staying at his hotel.
Yes. Yes. You can't stay in the city where you just did this thing, and you definitely cannot stay at the hotel where Citala
You can't,
knows
and
you
you can't even like give Chelsea a call to
she's
be
doing
like,
the pack our
back
stuff
out.
and get
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Meet me at the airport.
I think,
Yeah.
I think
Again,
that's
he's
fair.
terrible at this.
Rick and
Ready
Gary
for them.
in Bangkok.
Terrible.
I wish you'd been the whole episode. You're sober, right? Sober, yeah. That ship sailed.
So
I love Rockwell.
yeah.
Rockwell's incredible. Rick is like, this is part of why I just want, I actually am also genuinely, all jokes aside, I am still rooting for Rick and Chelsea, and I want Hope to win in the Hope, Pain, yin yang. But Rick is a bad friend to Frank here. Dragging your friend out of sobriety and celibacy for your own gain and feeling zero remorse about it is shitty. And he's a terrible boyfriend.
Counter. Here are my notes. Sam Rockwell, MVP. Let's fucking party. Strip joints and
not a
shots.
counter.
Cocaine crack for naked ladies. Rick sits there peaceful.
Is your font always that big?
No, I made it bigger.
CR-esque.
Yeah.
For the camera.
Incredibly compelling television, but he's not a kind and generous person. So if that's his arc and he learns to be more giving to other people now that he has some peace with
Rick's
himself,
not a good guy.
great.
The only
But-
person who thinks Rick's a good guy is that one lady who did the spiritual massage with
And
him.
me.
Yeah. That's it. She's
It's
the only
just
one who believes in
Amrita
Rick at
and
this
me.
point.
Yeah,
And by the way,
holding
maybe
out.
Rick should stay there and live with her, and then Chelsea can be with Saxon.
Win-win.
They can blend some drinks.
Win-win.
Saxon has a lot of growing to do.
It's true. He does. He's just
so-
starting.
Belinda and Zion, we don't know how that's going to turn out.
Do you agree? Do you think that she's going to take the money, or do you want to save that for predictions?
Let's save predictions. We see them arguing. We see Jackie and Kate. That's fine. I'll be the bad guy. I'm used to it. We see Saxon and Chelsea meditating, try and teach me your
Incredible scene.
ways.
Yeah.
Hand on the hand. Chelsea starts feeling little tinglies.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we got to end this now. I got to call Rick.
Yeah.
8th time she said that.
Yeah.
Throws the books at him.
We see Vicky praying,
Genuinely hilarious.
But he takes them.
He does.
Vicky praying for Piper waking up, and then Carrie Coon. We finally got the really, really out
Zill?
there Carrie Coon sex scene.
Cash
Knew
app.
that was coming in one of these episodes.
Incredible.
Asks her for money, 10K maybe, sees the thing, runs out, dick slap. And then Tim Ratliff
Yeah.
goes to grab the gun and he's gone. And that's our episode. So we can get to
Yes.
predictions.
Unlike,
What do you got?
Unlike Guy Talk, Tim acknowledges the possibility that the gun could have been in one of several drawers inside of that,
Right.
inside of that thing.
So things to be interested in going forward.
Yes.
A, when does Guy Talk cash in the Russians? I know who did the robbery, so we got that.
Yeah.
2, how does Rick get back? How
Yeah.
does he get his stuff, and how does he get the fuck out of the White Lotus?
Mhm.
Mhm.
3, Belinda and Greg Gary.
Yeah.
4, are the Fancies even going to make it one more day all
Mhm.
together?
Yeah.
And then
Kate
5,
already booked an earlier flight back
Right.
to Austin.
Piper
checked
and
in with
Lockie
Dave.
leaving the
Oh yeah.
Buddhist place. Does Lockie stay? What's going to happen with that? What else are we interested in heading into this last episode?
Will Victoria ever show signs of lorazepam withdrawal?
Never.
What's on Tim's phone when he gets it back, or
Yeah.
does he get it back?
Is Tim off the
Oh,
hook?
Tim's
yeah, it's Tim off
phone?
the hook. Yeah.
Do we think this is the last day of White Lotus, or is it the last day just because we're going to have a shootout?
Well, this is Friday night, right? Because again, the last 4 episodes have just been 2 days. So, yeah, I guess the. I
If
mean,
it
the
were me, I'll
shootout-
just say, if it were me, and there's a shootout at the resort, that's
Check it
the
out.
last day for me.
Yeah,
Checking out.
I'm
yeah,
done.
you're leaving after that. I'd say so. I'd
So
say so.
with all the gunshots, it makes me wonder.
Yeah.
Again, not only have we not seen the episode, I haven't heard anything. You have the 2 bodyguards coming back to find Rick.
Mhm.
Yes.
You have the
Certainly.
Russians who robbed the place. So you have 2 sides that we know are going to have guns.
Right.
Mhm.
Rick does not have his gun. He put
And
it in a
maybe
trash
that's
can.
the shootout.
The Russians versus the staff.
I
and
think
it's
I
like-
would be shocked if Guy Talk is not involved,
Guy Talk shooting at the Russians.
unless he holds
See
true to his
us,
morals.
bodyguards come, they get into it, and now it's like almost like a
Well, he
Tarantino
hates
3-way
those
thing.
guys, right? He
Yeah.
hates them and has from the beginning. So, like, what if
But he knows the Russians
yes,
are the villains.
he does, right? In the tradition of like Right. So that's yes. So like in the tradition of characters making a mistake, it would be interesting if the Hollinger bodyguards came to find Rick not to kill him or hurt him, but to be like, can you come back so that you guys can finish that conversation? He's your dad. But Guy Talk sees them pursuing a guest, hears Fabian in his head being like, your job is to protect the hotel. Here's Mook in his head saying, I thought you were more ambitious, and like tries to protect a guest at the hotel and pulls out his gun. But where do the Russians come into that?
I'm going to show you how that I can be violent but make some dumb mistake.
Yeah. But the
security
Russians
guards chasing down Rick, being like, he's your dad.
Yeah, come talk. Not them revealing that, but be like,
I'm not it.
That they're actually there. Not actually saying that, but that they're
no
there.
No bad ideas in a brainstorm, as Dave
Jacoby would say. They're there to like basically not for a violent reason, but just the fact that they're there is mistaken by all parties as violent intent.
Counter.
Yeah.
The security guards are there. Guy Talk tries to confront Valentine.
Yeah.
And
they kill
the
him.
Russians. And he has to decide whether he's going to draw or not.
Yes. You think doesn't? Because he believes he stands by his...
I'm like, fuck Mook. You know what I mean?
Go back to episode 1, though. Our guy Zion getting him whatever he was going on.
Yeah.
Gunshot? Yeah. No noise for like 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Another gunshot?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then gunshots.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So the first shot could be Guy Talk getting shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Joanna just got bummed out.
Well,
and then the security guard shooting at the Russian back. And then we get a shootout. And then Rick's just diving in front of the bullets, hoping to get hit by one. Not Rick, Tim.
Yeah.
Tim's just diving.
Or he takes a bullet for Chelsea.
That would be great.
Rick takes a bullet for Chelsea.
And that way we get to celebrate both his commitment to her and her new budding relationship with Saxon. That would be ideal.
Her impending nuptials with
That
Saxon
would be ideal.
Can I tell you something I'm concerned by?
Yes, yeah.
In an interview.
Oh, no.
Interview corner.
Lisa, who plays Mook, they were talking about how sometimes you have to fight for your love.
Okay.
And I didn't know what that meant. That was like several episodes ago.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. And I don't know if like in their view or in someone's view, it is good for Guy Talk to show some macho masculinity.
Right.
I think us watching at home are like,
don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't do it.
And especially because that would be a contrast to what many of the characters do, especially if Vicky's right and Piper leaves the monastery and is like, actually, I am going back home to just live my life, whatever happens with Tim aside. That's her decision, absent that knowledge.
Can I have one of your lorazepams?
Right. She's the Rachel character from season 1 then, right? She spends the whole season talking about the thing she wants, the thing that's different. Why can't the people around me understand? Yeah, like why I have some sort of like moral integrity and fiber that is like separate from the trappings of money and status and class. And then just it's like, actually, I do want to hold on to that. And Guy Talk saying, no, like this is a thing I believe. I'm not gonna compromise the actual like truth of my life would be very important and satisfying to see. But then if he died, like, or got shot, what would the message of that be? Very sad. That would be deeply tragic.
What if they kill Guy Talk off because he's the most boring character on the show? Just take him out.
Belinda a part of this too, right?
Belinda walks off with the money.
If she walks off with the money, yeah. But like then there's honestly, okay, I want to be clear. You know Gary killed Tanya. It would not be the right thing to take the money and like let him live the rest of his life, to be clear. However, why should Belinda be the one person? Like she says, like, can I get like one fucking break in my entire life? Like, why? Yeah, why shouldn't Belinda benefit from this fucking shit show around her all
take the money
time?
she was due from Tanya in the first place.
Yeah, like when Rachel was in the spa at the end of season 1 and was like, oh, can I just sit here and cry to you about how sad my life is? And Belinda walked out and was like, you want my like time, my advice? Like I'm fresh out. It's maybe time for her to be the one who does that. That would be interesting, but also at the expense of some moral integrity.
What I like about that is that Mike White has said that like her character is supposed to be the moral compass of the show, but what if it's like,
is there a moral compass?
Is there even a moral compass? And maybe is it Guy Talk who's not shooting? I'm just rooting for him, and I don't think he should be with Mook because Mook doesn't want him.
Mook doesn't like him for who he is.
Mook might need Saxon. Let's just set Saxon up. Maybe they have to date different people.
Maybe Saxon needs to spend some time with Saxon.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
He needs to sit with his feelings. Exactly.
One more. It's not totally a prediction, but I'm throwing it out there. Are we sure the 3 fancies are all making it to the end of this episode, that not one of them's going to leave early? Could we get a leave early?
Oh, I'd love
Like
that.
they wake up
that.
and Jacqueline's just gone with some fake excuse.
Yeah.
I had to go
I can see
back.
that.
They need me on set. And it's just Kate and
enjoy your flights.
Lori
You're in
left.
coach this time.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Yeah.
You have 3 connections.
Yeah.
I got out a day early. We'll have to leave a day early, and I've already left.
Yeah.
You guys can get back yourself.
Yeah, I could see
I
that.
don't think she wants them to see her sweat, to see that she was flustered by the encounter at all. Like, she's not cutting her vacation a day short for them.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea where she's just like, oh, Harrison needed me. I had to go.
Sweet Harrison.
I mean?
They're addicted to each
leaves
other.
like a short note. Talk to you soon.
TTYL.
Love Jackie. All right. So things I want in this episode.
Love Jackie.
Other than somebody watching her show on their hotel room TV, where it's like CSI.
You'll have to wait for a bonus
Austin.
webisode between seasons, I think.
CSI Seattle.
What is it? What is the Yellow Jacket show? Repo Divorcee?
Repo Divorcees is great.
That sounds great. Any last predictions before we go?
I don't know. 90-minute episode is kind of exciting. I'm just really invested in Saxon, and I never saw that coming, guys.
What a win.
I hope you feel great about yourself.
Great
I feel like the
episode.
season was a success
The
on that
Saxon
front
Hive
alone.
has grown.
I mean,
Schwarzenegger,
proud to be a founding member.
Nepo baby is totally vindicated. This is great.
He's
Any
the best.
last predictions, Val?
I think we covered
Okay.
a lot of them. I'm
He's your dad.
I am. I don't think they will shout
The
that.
security guards. Hold on.
It's
your dad.
I'm processing that you can't blend the poison seed pods into a smoothie. That's a hit for Theory Corner, definitely.
I would love for Tim to try the physical comedy of Lorazepam Tim, Rattling Tim, trying to shove some quirky fruit into the blender, breaking it and being like, Pam, the blender's broken, Pam.
Maybe-
And then she comes to fix the blender and gives him his phone, and he sees that he's off the hook.
Yeah.
Well, if it's hard to blend,
Bam.
maybe he starts blending it and the blender like does a spasm and knocks him out with the
Death by Blender, physical blender.
death by blender.
Oh.
Death by blender.
Death by blender.
Tim.
Are any of these people going to leave episode 8 in any kind of a happy place?
Saxon.
Saxon.
I think he's
I
on
think
the path
Chelsea
to
maybe.
progress.
Chelsea maybe.
Chelsea.
Happy.
Chelsea and Rick. I believe.
I think Rick's
I choose
dead
to
at the end of
believe.
this next episode.
You think Rick is dead?
I think he is dead.
Do you think he's the body floating towards Zion that we saw at the beginning?
I think
Yeah.
I don't know. Zion wouldn't know who he is though. I think it would have to be somebody Zion knew, or at least had
necessarily.
interacted
I
I
think
with.
think
it's
it's horrific
not
enough to
someone-
like find a dead body. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And also,
But
he
I
wasn't
thought the
like.
way he looked at it, I thought he knew who it was.
That
No?
was not
Oh,
married.
no, I thought the
Uh,
opposite. I
Oh.
thought he was like, because otherwise he would have been like, Mom,
Yeah.
oh no. But who knows? I
Worst-
guess I would run from a body pretty quickly.
Most
too.
disappointing death would be Frank.
Frank's not
Frank's
coming back.
back in the Lotus.
Frank's not coming back to the Lotus. He's safe.
He's going to live forever. He's fine. Maybe
tell ya.
he'll be the new
Have you
recurring
heard-
character
Have you
across
heard
seasons.
the rumor that Rockwell's gonna go for supporting rather than guest, which would be a mistake, I think.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
How's that a rumor? Where'd you read that?
I heard it on the streets.
You heard it on the
I
streets.
did.
So he's been in 3 episodes.
Mhm.
Supporting's a little sexier, right?
Yeah, support. If he has a supporting actor Emmy, that's sexier than guest actor Emmy. But he's got guest actor in the bag. I
Oh,
would
no-
just take
no
it.
question.
You know,
It's a tough one. He's my
Who's-
favorite
okay.
person on the show.
He's
if you
been
were to
unbelievable.
win, leaving Sam Rockwell aside, if you were to award one other Emmy for this season, who are you giving it to?
Good question.
I'm changing my answer to this question most
not
of the
Jason
season was
Isaacs.
either Jason Isaacs or Walton Goggins. And I think they've obviously both been wonderful, but the last couple episodes I haven't gotten quite as much.
Mhm.
I would go either Goggins
Patrick
or
Schwarzenegger.
he's
Goggins
really good.
has been good.
I'd either go Goggins or
What about Amy Lou?
I
Chelsea.
say Amy Lou.
I think
Yeah,
Amy
I was
Lou
gonna say
is
Chelsea.
Amy Lou's my vote.
just dynamite.
And
Star
Obviously,
making
Parker
fun
Posey
of
I
us.
would
is
not be
totally.
surprised if Parker Posey got it off of memes alone. Honestly,
And
I mean, she's wonderful in the show,
She would
but, like,
deserve it because
but,
these
you know.
memes are going to be, as we've been talking about,
yeah.
these memes are going to be a part of our lives
So
for
Parker Posey and lead. It's all arbitrary at White Lotus. It's an ensemble. Parker
Right.
Posey for lead.
Yeah.
Amy Lou for supporting, even though I think technically Amy
Absolutely
Lou has
ideal.
more screen time.
That would be a good Emmys
Fantastic.
category. Meme of the year. And the nominees are
They'd all be from White Lotus.
Yeah.
The nominees are Rick being unable to believe what
Tremel
Frank.
Tillman from Severance.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Milchick. Meme Lord Milchick. Have you seen any Milchick memes, though? You must have.
I've seen the memes, but I don't know what they mean.
Yeah, well, sad.
Well,
I have
also
many
sad.
hours of podcasts you can listen to.
I
if
know.
You want to know.
I know. Well, I'm sad. This is the last time we actually had to prepare for a pod. I'm going to miss it. But next week, we'll go live if we have to.
Where's that rosé?
We have the rosé ready to go. So we'll be right after that show somehow. We don't know how. If we can get screeners, even better. But I will see you next week. Thanks to the crew. As always, don't forget, Ringer Dash TV. And then Joe's got the deep dive with Rob. Can't wait for that one as always. And I'll see you next week.